Hello. Thank you very much, Jean-Jacques. And this is my first time here at the conference, so I thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Fanny Hidvégi, and I'm the European Policy Manager of Access Now. Access Now is an international non-profit NGO, and I have colleagues all around the world from Tunisia, Costa Rica, Argentina, the US, and I'm based in Brussels, which is luckily not so gray and rainy as usual. Our mission is to extend and to defend the digital rights of users at risk around the world, and I'm especially grateful to be on the program to represent civil society voice, which is not so typical in some of these events. The title of this session is Data Economy, Data Protection and E-Privacy. What are the fundamentals of a privacy framework that enhances consumer trust in the context of electronic communications, but also enables the innovative use of metadata? In the attempt to answer that question, first I would like to push back a little bit on that but in the middle of that question, because my view is that trust, as we already heard from some of the speakers, trust is actually the key component to achieve innovation and the digital single market and digital economy in general. This panel also aims to connect the dots between the GDPR, e-privacy, Internet of Things, international data transfers, digital security, and even more. That's a super broad framing. And following actually Fiona's introductory remarks, for me, the only way to connect those dots, if we all, including the legislator, the regulators, all private sector, including telcos and the OTTs, understand that respect both data protection and privacy is necessary because they are both fundamental rights. Originally, today was supposed to be the vote in the European Parliament's LIBE committee on the e-privacy reform. So allow me to focus my few minutes on the e-privacy. The right to privacy is related to, but it's a different right from data protection. They are both enshrined in the European Charter for Fundamental Rights. The current e-privacy directive, and soon to become regulation, is the only legislation on the EU level that protects the right to privacy. In order to meet the requirements of the Charter and to achieve the consistency with the GDPR, we must indeed level the playing field. Level the playing field for users in the form of race to the top and not to the bottom. The guiding principle for the process is very clear. The rules of the e-privacy regulation should not only uphold the level of protection by the GDPR, but due to that sensitive nature, it should actually exceed it. This was also stressed by the Article 29 Working Party and the European Data Protection Supervisor and many more. In the legislative process, representatives of different industry members have used a number of arguments to repeal the e-privacy completely or to water down the reform and the level of protection. They either claim that the GDPR is already the perfect solution to every single data processing question, which is rather ironic after the years of lobbying against the law, or they claim that the GDPR already creates a huge burden and it's too complex to cope with any additional rules. I disagree with both arguments. First, as much as I applaud the EU's effort to conclude the GDPR reform, the regulation is really not ensuring the confidentiality of communications, and it does not offer enough protection against online tracking. Therefore, we need the privacy reform. Second, I also refuse the characterization of the GDPR as a regulatory burden. To respect the fundamental rights to privacy is not a favor, it's an obligation. Processing and monetizing personal data must come with a price. The primary public interest is the legal and technical protection of people and not cementing semi-unlawful or sometimes completely unlawful business practices. I wanted to debunk one of the arguments against e-privacy. Some of the telecoms operators are calling for the e-privacy to be repealed, and there are two interpretations of what that repeal could mean. It's either the repeal of the current reform proposal, which would leave them with the directive, which, if at all, the only thing that would not achieve is the level playing field, because it would continue to apply to them without capturing in the scope the OTTs. The other option of understanding what this repeal could mean is to completely undermine the whole rules on e-privacy, which would not only be disrespectful for fundamental rights, but it would completely undermine the already broken trust, which is against their best interest. Instead, we should all focus on regaining the trust to achieve a thriving digital economy and the digital single market. For the regulators in the room, it's useful for you to know that the final decision on e-privacy seems to be that data protection authorities will be enforcers of the rules, except for a few issues around consumer rights and calling lists. That being said, the convergence of data issues in competition law, data protection, and the telecom sector require all of us and all of you to work together to achieve the goals you are tasked with. The expression level playing field doesn't really mean anything anymore. In the e-privacy jargon, the traditional meaning is between telecoms and OTTs. To change that discourse, I would like to offer a new approach that what we should mean by leveling the playing field. In my view, it should be leveling the playing field between people and all industry. They are dominantly stronger compared to people, even though all of your business model is based on their trust. Europe should listen more to users' demand, namely to the 92% of citizens that demanded confidentiality of their communications through the December 2016 EU Barometer. And finally, as a conclusion, the proposed e-privacy regulation must therefore increase the level of protection for the confidentiality of communications and against tracking in order to provide a higher level of protection than the GDPR. That would create a level playing field for all actors, but most importantly for users who were promised to be put back in control. The European Union has taken the first steps to create the digital single market, which can only be successful if the trust of European citizens is regained. Thank you.